Good day and welcome to eri-tv News. I am Victoria broadcasting from Canada and these are the headlines for today's stories. War in Ukraine will hunt Africans growing supplies. Protests in Sudan after alleged gang rape of young women by security forces. Emirate partnership to help develop Sudan's economy. Bringing you this in detail after the short break. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back from that short break. Now news in detail. War in Ukraine will hunt Africans grain supplies. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has expressed concern that African countries could be hit with a shortage of wheat supply as a result of Russian invasion of Ukraine. Following the February 24th invasion, the two biggest wheat growers in the world, Ukraine and Russia, may now be unable to supply to crucial markets in Africa, the UN boss said on Tuesday. Many African countries and poor countries are dependent on wheat production in Russia and Ukraine, but now they are at risk because of the war. Guterres told reporters that 45 African countries and least developed countries import at least one-third of their wheat from Ukraine and Russia, and 18 of them import at least 50%. These countries, according to the UN, indulge Egypt, Congo, Burkina Faso, Libya, Somalia, Lebanon, Yemen, and Sudan, which had already been struggling to feed their people. Russia and Ukraine represent more than half of the world supply of sunflower oil and about 30% of the world's wheat. Russia is the world's largest wheat exporter with about 17% share of the global export market. It is also the second biggest supplier of the sunflower seed. The Black Sea region reportedly exports at least 12% of global food calories, including sunflower oil, maize, wheat, and other crops. About 40% of this export go to the Middle East and Africa, where food prices are already surging. Guterres further warned that Russia's war on Ukraine could lead to a global famine and food insecurity. The UN chief said Russia's war on Ukraine is holding a sword of Damocles over the global economy, especially on poor developing countries that already are facing price hikes on food, fuel, and fertilizer and are now seeing their breakfast being bombed. Food, fuel, and fertilizer prices are skyrocketing, supply chains are being disrupted, and the cost and delays of transportation of imported goods when available are at record levels. And all of this is hitting poorest and the hardest and planting seeds for political instability and unrest around the globe. Guterres added the Secretary General further renewed the call for an immediate cessation of hostility and called for negotiation towards peace to stop the suffering of Ukrainians and to avert the potential global food crisis threat posed by the war. Ukraine is on fire, he says. About $40 million will be needed to help millions of Ukrainians who are suffering from hunger and water and medicine shortages, Guterres added. According to UN, nearly 13 million people in Kenya, Somalia, and Ethiopia are at risk of food and water shortages. Meanwhile, drought striking Somalia is seeking international assistance to feed its 6.9 million people who are facing severe food and water shortages. Somalia Prime Minister Mohamed Hassan Rabel has said more than 500,000 people have been forced to flee their homes in search of water and food. He warned that many people in Somalia could starve unless emergency aid is supplied immediately. Thousands of children have been forced to drop out of school due to severe drought in Somalia. In Sudan, thousands of people are protesting against a rapid deterioration in living conditions, including a sharp rise in the price of bread. On Sunday, the cost of the main food for most Sudanese have risen to the highest percentages. Moving on to the other story, protest in Sudan after alleged gang rape of young woman by security forces. Demonstrations took place across Sudan on Tuesday in protest as the alleged gang rape of teenager by security forces. The 18-year-old said she was attacked in Khartoum on Monday by up to 9 men dressed in the uniform of security forces involved in dispersing regular protests held across Sudan since October military call. The woman says she was traveling home when the police officers stopped the minibus looking for people who had been involved in the day protest. Sulamia Ishaq, the head of the Violence Against Women unit at Sudan Social Development Ministry, said a number of sexual assault on women and men had been reported near to the place the young woman was attacked in recent weeks. She says security forces have been increasingly using this tactic to decrease people movement in the street. That is well-known oppressive policy in our country. It is not the first time that they have been doing this, and it won't be the last time. On Tuesday, women and girls took to the street in Khartoum, Omdurman, and three cities in South Darfur, carrying signs that they will not break you and we will not be broken. In the capital, the government closed bridges to stop protesters reaching the presidential palace. Protesters gathered in the busy Jabba district of southern Khartoum last month. On Revolution's third anniversary, protesters vowed not to be silent. More than 18 people have been killed and hundreds injured during protests against the 25th October coup. The latest incident is being investigated by police. The police did not respond to requests for comment. We believe everyone deserves access to information that grounded in science and truth, and analysis rooted in authority and integrity. In these previous times, a truth-seeking global news organization like The Guardian is essential. They have no shareholders or billionaires owner, meaning the journalism is free for commercial and political influence. This makes them different when it has never been more important or independent allow us to fearlessly investigate, challenge, and expose those in power. Moving on, Emirate partnership to help develop Sudan economy. Khartoum an agreement signed to enable banks to perform their role in the development of Sudan's economy has been negotiated between Sudan, the United Arab Emirates, and the private sector. Sudan Acting Foreign Minister Ali Al-Sadiq says. Al-Sadiq was speaking at Khartoum Airport on Sunday, the return from the UAE of a high-level delegation headed by the chairman of the Sovereignty Council, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. He says that the Sudanese and Emirati delegation agreed to establish large strategic economic partnership in road sport, railway, military, cooperation, and exchange of experiences. Workers at the seaport in Red Sea State expressed their concern about the privatization of the Port Sudan port following the agreement between Al-Baham and the Abu Dhabi, their apparent own partnership in the field of seaport. He pointed to the high shipping cost from global port to port Sudan of $12,000 for a container compared to $8,000 to the Egyptian port, and said that shipping companies as well expect the closure of the Port Sudan port. Unprecedented stress on the Sudanese pound against major currencies coupled with unbridled prices for basic goods, it promoting fears of human as hunger is already prevalent throughout Sudan and how it begins to encroach on the capital Khartoum. Last week, the Central Bank of Sudan announced the unifications of Sudanese pound exchange rate to allow for the determination of currency exchange rate without interference from the central bank, while the price for US dollar jumped to a record in the parallel market. And highlighted by economist Hassan Bashir in an interview with On Sudan Today on radio, that a full liberation of the exchange rate in the absence of enough foreign exchange reserve will lead to the continued rise in foreign exchange rate in the parallel market, and explained that banks will remain in continued state of chasing the parallel market rate. He said the resolution could be addressed perhaps of short-term implication, but was not a sustainable resolution. And that is the solution. This will end the news on Alena Media TV. I am Victoria and thanks for watching.